Hi, I'm Susan Peterson, and you are listening to Started from the Bottom, an entrepreneur-focused podcast on getting started. Here you will find all the mindset tools and resources you need to just get started. Okay, Shelby Miller, welcome to Started from the Bottom.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here.
I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
You are probably one of the busiest people I know. And
Probably.
You don't deny it. And so for you to take time out of your day to come and do this, it really means a lot to me.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Thank you. I'm pumped to be here.
Okay, so how did you get started?
Started with what I'm doing now.
Yeah, so Shelby what's your official schooling?
I have a doctorate degree.
Okay.
I'm a family nurse practitioner.
Okay.
So I actually started working in intensive care.
Okay.
So I would recover open heart surgeries
Okay.
and pulmonary procedures and vascular procedures. And I loved it. I mainly worked in the ICU though, because I wanted to do anesthesia. I wanted to be a nurse anesthetist. And in order to do that, you have to go work in an ICU for 2 years. So I was kind of doing the grunt work. I started actually doing some travel nursing too, to make some extra money, because working in the high security ICU in the state of Utah obviously wasn't, enough. So I killed myself and started doing some travel nursing. That tells you something about me, I guess. But I finally got a job with 2 body plastic surgeons. I was always interested in plastics.
Yeah.
And I started working in the OR. And the first week, I had a huge mind shift because I was incredibly bored. People were asleep. And I was wanting to chat and hang out, and my patient was asleep. So I quickly realized anesthesia was probably not the right road for me.
Yeah.
And I switched and decided to go do a nurse practitioner program. So I did an RN to a DNP, basically. So a registered nurse, 4-year nursing degree. I went to BYU. And did an RN to DNP, which is a doctor of nursing practice.
Mm-hmm.
You have 7 years to complete it. I did it in about 3.5, just kind of cranked it out. And while doing that, I actually ended up transitioning from the body plastics in the OR and ended up working in facial plastics. Along the road, I kind of discovered injecting. And this is like 8 years ago, and I think injections are pretty taboo.
Yeah.
And especially in Utah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we pretend like we don't do them here.
We pretend like we don't do. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of shifting, but I met one of the CRNAs I worked with a CRNA is a nurse anesthetist, and she would show me before and after pictures of filler patients that she would work on, like a chin. She would build chin filler. She would put filler in people's chin, which is a gel, and build a chin. And my mind was kind of blown.
Yeah.
Like, what are you're telling me you just did that with gel? Right?
Yeah.
And I just remember being obsessed and started getting into injectables because I learned I could do it as an RN underneath a physician. So started injecting more and more with the facial plastic surgeon I worked with, and ran his OR, which is really helpful to become comfortable with anatomy and the aging process and what happens to the deeper layers of our face over time, so we know how to naturally anti-age and replace that volume in a proportionate, natural way. And just built my Instagram there. It started growing and ended up transitioning from that practice to run a injection department at a different med spa. And then after about almost 2 years, I realized that some of my core values were not being met and being compromised a little bit. So I was kind of forced to just start my own thing. After having a really pivotal conversation with the owners of that location, 10 days later, just started my own business, and now it's been 4 years. So I own RUMA Medical Aesthetics, and we're specialized facial aesthetics and wellness.
Yes. I started going to you when you were at that med spa.
Yeah, at Amara.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was amazing and such an amazing transition point for me. I think it's just interesting being a medical provider. You look at business different. It's never about the bottom line. For me, it's always been about creating a phenomenal result and relationship with my patients, and that trust, safety, all of those things are so important. It's never really been about money. So when it's all about like goals and things, it's just never, I don't know, it just hit differently for me. So I wanted to create a beautiful space that was innovative and cutting edge and focused on the science of aesthetics. And so that's how RUMA was born.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So because you're a true artist, like literally everyone I talk to, they'll say, where'd you get your lips done or whatever? I'm like, Shelby. And it's always Shelby does the prettiest lips. I think you do an amazing job on people's faces.
Thank you.
I don't look like I have a lot of filler or injections, and we're to the teeth here.
We're to the teeth. No, we're not. It's tasteful.
It's tasteful.
But I think the important thing with you were really nervous in the beginning. But I think knowledge is power. And I really spend the time with my patients sitting down and doing a full assessment from hairline to décolleté to the chest. And we look at where things have changed over time, right? I always ask what your favorite features are, so I know what to accentuate. I know what makes you feel beautiful, which a lot of times for women is their eyes, their lips.
Yeah.
But also, like when you look at someone over time and you can tell they're aging, where's the first place you start to notice volume loss?
Your neck. Right there.
Your neck
eyes.
Or your eyes,
Yes.
right? Like aging's all about shadows. You start to notice different lights and shadows in the face, and making sure that you can build that back up in a proportionate way is super important. And you have to understand the anatomy. So I sit down and I explain to my patients like what's been happening to the deeper layers of your face. Women lose so much bone in our face as we age, right? Estrogen directly affects bone, protects bone. As our estrogen goes up and down, as we have babies, you have estrogen receptors in your face. As the estrogen drops, so does your bone, so does volume in your face. Women lose up to 30% more bone in our face than men. Huge reason why we age quicker.
Yes, and men just end up looking hotter.
I guess a man probably came up with that. But yeah, I mean, men refine over time, but they hit a point where, like mid 40s, men really start to notice volume loss, and women, it's mainly like mid 30s when we start to notice volume loss. Yeah. So it's about replacing that volume that we lose in the bone, especially in the deep fat. The deep fat is what we lose a lot of, and that just really makes everything kind of sink in. So with you, I think it was more important just explaining where you've lost volume and how we can strategically put back small amounts to build back that light reflex, to make your eyes look beautiful and refreshed. And now the goal is to look like this in 10 years. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So for the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years. So every year you have to replace a little bit of volume because you're going to lose about a teaspoon of volume in your face every year, which is about 5 syringes worth of filler a year. So I don't think you need 5 a year, maybe 3, a little bit, and some collagen stimulating products like Sculptra, PLA, other things that you could do. But yeah, I think for you, you were nervous at first, right?
I was nervous. I think
as you're educated.
Because I didn't want to look like young Jennifer Coolidge.
Who does, right? Or the housewives. They look masculine.
Yeah, I think, or remember Tom Cruise before he got his facelift? And his face was so big. Yes. Because it was just too much. Yeah. Like there comes a point where you're like, okay, we need to just pull it all back.
You can't. And that's why you have to use a combination of things. This is why you can't go somewhere that just tries to fix everything with filler. You can't do that. You need neuromodulators, which are Botox, Dysport, right? You need those. You need filler, of course. But you also, like we do a lot of regenerative medicine at RUMA. We have an amazing contract with a regenerative lab that has exosomes and stem cells, high yield growth factors for people that want to age a little bit more naturally. We have biostimulating products like Sculptra that stimulate collagen, PRP, PRF. And then we have PDO threads that actually will like physically lift the face a couple millimeters versus surgery for the right patients. So you have to use a combination of things to get to the most natural result.
Do you feel like you approach it from a creative place?
Oh, for sure. But I think it starts with a systematic place first. You have to understand anatomy and natural proportions, but everyone's different, right? Gender, race, everything's different. I wouldn't fill a man like I would a woman because you're going to feminize them and make them more beautiful. And that's a problem. They want to look more masculine and, you know, gruff. But yeah, I think if you understand, you need to know the rules so you can break them like an artist, right?
I love that.
I love that because you really have to know the rules first. And I mean, I did a training this morning. Providers from all over the country flew in, Florida, Texas, Colorado, and we did an advanced training on anatomy, but then also advanced techniques on how to inject around the eye. And that's kind of what you have to do in my industry. You have to fly around and learn from people who create results that you think are beautiful and natural because everyone does it different. So there's a huge artistic component to what we do.
Yeah. And I think you've always been good, but I've seen you get better.
Oh, thank you. I know it's only been like 8 years. So
no,
hopefully I'm getting better.
Of course you are. You're so good. And it's so fun to just come go into RUMA, have the nice ladies up front, sit on the beautiful couches. The music's so nice.
The massage chair.
Yeah, get a drink.
It's all about the experience, you know?
I fill my bag with mints every time
I know. You just dump them in there. I know.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's part of the experience.
It's part of it. You take what you want, girl. I love it. That's amazing.
I cap myself at like 10. Come on.
I don't know. I've never noticed. So you're clearly not taking enough.
Not that many. Okay. Talk to me about like growing up. What led you to be like this badass entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Growing up was kind of tough for me, actually. I have two other brothers who had heroin addictions. And they actually started smoking marijuana when they were in middle school, which is crazy, but we have an addictive component, and there's a genetic component to addiction. We have that for sure. My grandfather's an alcoholic, so they started smoking a lot of pot, and then it was not enough. They moved to pills, not enough. And so the second they started heroin, they were just hooked. Two older brothers, they're like 18 months apart. So they hid it from my parents for years. And my parents, we grew up really LDS. They were super naive. I think they knew my brothers were rebellious, but I had no idea what was going on. And I was really little at the time. By the time they figured out what was going on, it was a little too late. And so long story short, I think what really transitioned their whole addictive cycle was the younger brother, Tyson, his best friend overdosed at a party and was like foaming from the mouth, basically coated. They had to call EMS. It just scared the crap out of both my brothers, but especially the older brother, because he saw it and he said, you know, like he was thinking, I don't want to lose my little brother. I drug him into this. So we had a family intervention because my older brother came and told my parents, I think we have a problem. And my parents were like, what do you mean? And he's like, I think we're addicted to heroin. And my parents prior had no idea what was going on.
How old were they at the time?
The one was, I think, just finishing high school. So it had been years, you guys, years. And they had issues. Like Tyson got thrown out of middle school. He got thrown out of high school. So he went to 3 different high schools. They were babies. And in Utah, I think there's so much shame and guilt with religion that the second my brothers messed up, they feel like they couldn't tell my parents. So it just spiraled. Okay. And so growing up with this, my brothers were very much Like my first memory of life was when I was 3 years old and I was doing chores. My parents taught us very young that we have to work for what we get. They never once handed us anything. And I was doing garbages with my older brother, going up the stairs. And he must have just learned about memories, because he was like, Shelby, remember this moment. And we were on the stairs and he's like, remember this. And I was like, okay, I'm 3 years old. And then every day he'd be like, remember when we were on the stairs? And then every week he'd be like, remember when we were on the stairs with the garbage bag? And he just like put that memory into my head. And I was 3 years old, barely 3. And that was my first memory of life. But basically from like elementary school to the beginning of high school, for me, I basically have no memories with my brothers because they were just gone and just in and out of jail, prison. Like my one brother was in high max security prison. His cellmate was a rapist, murderer, because he had a felony, like huge issues. So you live in a household like this. My parents are just consumed by keeping my brothers, by like keep them alive. That's kind of the goal. Keep the brothers alive. They'd go missing for 3 days at a time. My mom would go crazy. My dad would go out looking for them. So this is the household I kind of grew up in growing up. Super religious all at the same time. No one sharing anything about the struggle with my brothers because it's embarrassing. So my family went through so much trauma that we had to go through a lot of healing in the end. Luckily, my 2 brothers have both made it out. They're sober now. I think about 2% of heroin addicts can actually get out, live a quality, sober life as a productive member of society.
Yeah.
But it was tough. I have a little brother, and I kind of helped raise him growing up. And I think that there's 2 types of people. Some people that have to experience things for themselves, right?
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah. You put your hand on the freaking hot stovetop because you don't trust when other people say, Susan, it's hot.
Well, I would say when I was younger, I had to be that. But now I love learning from other people's experiences.
Yes.
100%. And
100%.
not making the same mistake that I see other people make.
Yeah. And you know, I think that I've had to learn that from a young age. My dad is actually a phenomenal entrepreneur. And he always told me, Shelb, a wise man learns from his own mistakes, but a super wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Mm-hmm. So really trying to learn from people that have gone through the rough so you can avoid it, I think is the smartest way to live life. So I never touched alcohol growing up. And I was a little boy crazy, but I learned so much from watching my brothers and kind of going through this struggle. My family went through a lot of counseling. We had to learn to become emotionally honest and communicate feelings of shame and guilt and be able to admit your mistakes and just learn from it. So that's kind of like the childhood that I went through. And I'm really passionate about addiction and educating people on the brain disease of addiction. In fact, that was my kind of thesis throughout my doctorate program. Funny fact, I did pageants growing up, and I was Miss Draper, and this was...
You were Miss Draper?
I was Miss Draper. I know. And I was actually a finalist at Miss Utah.
It feels like a leap for me a little bit. I mean, you're so beautiful and so fun and so... But it does. Okay, but continue.
Well, the reason why I did it is, one, I had a huge fear of speaking in front of people. So I actually did some lessons on just communicating, and it's actually one of my biggest insecurities. I have a little bit of aphasia, so a lot of times I can't think of what I want to say.
Oh, I have that. What's it called?
Aphasia.
Like where your words go missing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's brain, I don't know, brain fog. But sometimes I just can't find the word that I want to say.
I get that.
But yeah, I know. So I did a lot of coaching, and this was like in end of middle school. Well, actually, no, mid high school, because I was Miss Draper my senior year. Yeah. So mid high school, I kind of got into pageants, but it was mainly because my platform, because you have to have a platform within Miss America, was all about addiction. And my brothers were barely going through treatment. So what I did is basically pinpointed the problem, which I think the problem in Utah is the lack of education for parents to watch out. Because my mom, they had huge red flags. The one thing that kind of my parents tried to kind of figure out what was going on with my brothers, but my mom went to the bathroom one day and found a wad of tinfoil in the toilet. And she was like, what is going on? And that is how my brothers would prepare their heroin.
Right.
And smoke it. They never did an IV, thank heavens. But that was kind of like a finding, right? But things that parents need to be looking out for, educating parents on the brain disease of addiction. So I would go around to middle schools and do a presentation. Remember when you had to go through and take your kids through orientation and go through all the classes and everything? I partnered with the local middle schools, and they were required to have parents come in and sit down for a 15-minute presentation. And it was powerful because I would bring my brothers. They were newly sober, and I would present the science side of it, and then my brothers would come in and scare the crap out of these kids with like the most terrifying stories.
Right.
So it was perfect. And I went around all of Utah and presented. That was my platform when I was in high school, and it was all about kind of trying to prevent, kids from falling into the same issues. So, and it was all for parents and kids. So parents were there to be educated on like what things to look for, and also resources, because can you imagine having a kid struggling and not knowing where to go, like where to start? So it was all about the meetings they could go to, all sorts of local resources. My parents are actually missionaries for the LDS Addiction Recovery Program right now, so they do a lot of family support meetings. And my brothers now own and operate a rehab called Renaissance Ranch locally, and they have multiple locations, and they do inpatient and outpatient, and they just help people. But we're really fortunate. I think they've lost over 23 friends now to addiction, whether it's like homicide, suicide, accidents. It's crazy. It's a huge problem in Utah.
Yeah, we have it in my family on both my husband's side and my side. And I feel like every time something comes up, we share it with our kids. Like people say, don't talk to your kid. Like they might be too young, but I feel like
you have to talk to them.
You have to show the consequences of what's happening with these people, you know? And we've even taken on like siblings' children for different amounts of time. And
it's amazing.
It's hard. It like affects everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It affects everybody. And it's such a vulnerable place. I wouldn't wish addiction on my worst enemy.
Don't you feel like most everyone has it now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm addicted to a lot of things.
Same.
But I think that there's certain things that are much more devastating than others.
Never do heroin, kids.
Never do heroin.
Never.
Opioids, even like pain pills, they're so scary. A lot of people just get hooked with those in Utah, and then
so unintentionally too.
Yeah. I mean, people don't realize there's a genetic component to addiction. So if you have surgery, sometimes all it takes is taking your Percocet a little too long, and then you start liking it, and then you can't function without it,
Right.
So.
And it's painful, terrible to get off.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you feel like it's so funny that even in high school, you were like educating people?
I know.
Using your family resources to make yourself more successful.
Oh, I know. Look at them.
I know. Well, but it's like full circle, because still like that's a big part of your job is education now too. Right.
Yeah.
And so it is the things that you can, it just comes naturally to you. I think education.
I don't know. I think if you're going to be educating people, you have to know what you're teaching them really well.
Yeah.
The in and outs. So I actually I'm not smart naturally. Truly. I'm not. I have to work really hard. So, and I think I have to thank my dad for this one too, because when I was in middle school, he said, if you graduate with a 4.0, I'll buy you whatever car you want for high school. Thinking I would never do it, because he had two other sons who were drug addicts. He's like, how far can this one get? I don't know. But I did it. I graduated. I went through middle school, all straight A's, and he had to buy me a car. But that taught me I had to invest myself, and I had to work really hard. It didn't come naturally to me. I have to study really, really hard. So yeah, I educate a lot of people. I have RUMA Aesthetics, but I also have a company called RUMA Academy, completely separate, and we've trained hundreds, probably thousands of injectors and PAs, MDs, RNs, anyone who works in the aesthetics community. But I've really had to work really hard and dedicate myself, put hundreds and hundreds of hours into training to know what I'm educating them on well.
I saw a stat, and I know you're not supposed to quote stats, but
let me add it.
I think though it was the retention rate of information. If you teach other people, I think it's closer to like 30%. Whereas if you're just listening, it's 0.
Yep.
You're listening and writing, it's like 10. Like it goes up. But the most retention comes when you educate other people on what you've learned.
Yep. Because you have to know it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm terrified if someone asks me something and I don't know the answer. I love being able to say, you know what, I'll get back to you on that, because I love being able to dive into the research and really know what I'm talking about. I hate glazing the surface and pretending. Like, I'll never pretend, right? Like, especially with anything medical, you really got to know what you're talking about.
I go to my one doctor and he'll tell me stuff and I'm like, got it. And then Chris will say, what did he say? And I'm like, I have no idea. But it makes sense at the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so good.
What's the scrappiest thing you've done for your business?
Oh, for my business?
Yes.
Oh.
Or just in general?
Scrappiest thing that I've done.
I have one.
Yeah, you tell me yours.
Well, I have one for you.
Oh, tell me.
Your other RUMA location.
Oh, yeah.
You guys built out everything in there.
That was so scrappy.
It was, because it was so expensive.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the first one, like in the back of it.
The first one in the back, that was
pretty
scrappy. You had to go by the bathrooms and like the
yes,
return.
That was so bad.
It was in the back of Glamour Gels.
Okay, but
right?
here's the thing. When you're starting a business, you just got to take what you can get.
100%.
I had nothing. I realized that I needed to make a shift in my career. I walked away from a conversation with the owners where I was at, and I knew I just had to open my own place in order to have the career that I wanted and to provide the quality of service that I wanted for my patients. So I called a friend, and to this day, I owe her so much. Her name is Becky Purcell.
She's the best.
Phenomenal. Look her up. She works with John Maxwell now, and she's so inspirational. But she owned that nail salon. It was kind of like a fun little side gig for her. Boutique. They did hair. She's like, Shelp, we got a room in the back. Come on over and you can do your own thing. And she did not even charge me rent. She just wanted our clients in the building, and she's just a beautiful human. She's so like, nice. I believe in you. So I called a friend. Hey, will you be my medical director? I'll do your Botox for free, kind of thing. Right. And because I was still finishing my doctorate program. And we started RUMA there, and it was amazing. And we looked for a place to do a build out. It took way longer than I thought to find a location. And then we did a build out, and COVID hit. So we ended up being in that tiny little room. It was 120 square feet, like tiny, 10 by 12, tiny, for a year and a half while we did a build out. But it allowed me to pay cash for a build out, which cost me like $350,000. Cash, paid for it. Boom. No debt, just paid for this amazing build out, have this beautiful location, and I owe her everything. But yeah, I had to suck it up, and it was pretty scrappy for a year and a half. But my patients knew me at that point. I had built a clientele. They knew the quality of what they were getting, and you know, every time I'm like, just remember, we're doing a build out. It's going to be nice.
It was totally fine.
It was fine. But
I came there a bunch, and I did not mind it at all. It was the first time you and I got real close with your belly. Remember, you were pregnant.
I was pregnant up, and everybody, The crazy thing is, we moved into the new beautiful place that we did a build out, and then we grew out of it after 12 months and had to do another build. So that's probably my biggest mistake, I guess.
Yeah.
Not thinking big enough.
Yeah. I've actually talked to a bunch of people about that, where you go a little bit bigger than you think you need.
Yeah.
And in your case, probably 2 or 3 times bigger.
Yeah. But we had 30 times the space. We went from 120 square feet to almost 3,000 is 2,750. So I thought, we'd be here for 8 years.
And what are you in now?
10,000 square feet.
Okay, so you have half of that bottom floor in that building.
Yeah, we have half a Class A tech building.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's so amazing.
But
I love
it's 10,000 rentable, 8,600 usable, but we have 16 rooms instead of 4 where we had before. So it's amazing.
It is. I love your approach to creating a community, filling your books. How do you do this?
Oh, man. That's a loaded question. I think that personal leads to remarkable, which leads to memorable.
Okay.
So for me, I really try to make every interaction personal because I think that's just what humans want. We want connection. And I think you can sense it from a mile away if someone's not truly invested in you. Mm-hmm. You go to your doctor, it's like in and out. They don't remember your name, right? Like how many times, like every time I went to have a baby, it's like, hi, so how many kids do you have? I'm like, you literally delivered my last 2 kids. So
right.
My name's Shelby. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like people want that connection. And I'm such a people person. I just love to make it personal for people. And I really, with RUMA, really strive to make it an amazing experience from every touch point. Mm-hmm. You walk in, we have a signature scent pumping through the HVAC. It's moody. You walk in, your blood pressure just drops. Mm-hmm. It's vibey, beautiful. The team's amazing. There's consistency. It's just about the experience and really creating those relationships. Yes, marketing's important. Social media is how I probably built it from the beginning. But I think what keeps people coming back is the personal aspect.
Yeah. That's why I come back.
Yeah. Because we're friends. All my patients. And also I've built such an amazing high-end clientele because I believe in my value and my worth and I rarely discount. In fact, we charge more than everywhere else. And that draws the type of person who's like, RUMA charges a little bit more. I wonder why. They must be better. I'm going to go there. Mm-hmm. That type of person is the type of person that comes to RUMA. The go-getters, the machines, the people that just work freaking hard and grind. They're successful. Most of the time they're amazing people too, you know, and they just become my best friends. We're all friends. It's so fun.
It feels like the Cheers version of an injectable spot. Like everybody knows your name. Yeah. Yeah. They got your drink waiting for you.
Oh, yeah. Kombucha on tap.
Little
blackberry cello sparkling water on tap.
And when you take blood and I get lightheaded, you got food for me.
Yes. Snacks.
Yes. Snacks. Yes.
Pronox, laughing gas, whole comfort menu, little CBD, all the things.
Okay. So you are a fun time, work hard, play hard girly. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this.
Yes.
Because I wish I was a work hard, play hard. But I'm work hard, nap hard.
You are work hard and nap hard.
So how do you recharge?
Oh, man. Recently, I love traveling with my hubby.
Just you two?
Yeah. We'll take the girls, too, because I think it's super important to spend that quality time with them away. But I just love kind of getting out of my normal cycle, because even if I'm at home and I have downtime, I'm the type of person that's like pulling up my to-do list and checking things off my to-do list because that relieves my anxiety, right? So if I'm outside of my normal environment, I can actually relax. And it's fun to travel with George. He comes with me now. He flies us most of the time. So that's what I do. Just spending quality time with my people.
I love that. What is one lesson that you learned early on in your business that's still true today?
Oh, that's good. That's a good question. I think I quickly realized, especially running a medical practice, I opened RUMA, started RUMA when I was 6 weeks pregnant with my first baby.
You moved into your new spot, the back room.
The back ghetto room. When I quit Amara and started RUMA, I was 6 weeks pregnant and in the final 6 months of my doctorate program. And I thought it was a good idea to start a company.
You know what I decided though? If you're too dumb to know, it's almost the perfect time to start.
I mean, it was total chaos.
Yes.
But, you know, I think that...
But you get everything done.
Yeah, you get everything done. But what I realized, and I think one of the most important learning moments was early on realizing I couldn't do everything by myself. So kind of had a breakdown, sat down with my dad, and he's like, Shelb, the second someone can do something 80% as good as you have to delegate it. You got to let it go. Because I know you're a control freak and I know you're going to do everything 120%, but you will have a crap quality of life if you cannot have help.
Yeah.
So I learned early on that in order to have the amazing life that I want, I have to create systems to support that. And I have so many amazing people in my life that help me. I have 2 household managers, nannies. They do everything. They cook, they clean, they stock our fridge, they do all our returns, they do all my laundry, they put all of our laundry away. They love our little girls. They teach them. That's like the first thing I could not live with as a mom, being an entrepreneur. And I have like a personal assistant. She runs my whole training academy, my amazing husband, our family is so great and helpful. So I've learned that you have to be okay with letting go and delegating. And I don't know if you've learned that too, because I think no one's going to care about your business as much as you, right?
Yeah.
But I think you'll have a crap quality of life if you let it consume you. So it's a balance. I have a quote that goes along with that. It's like one of my favorite quotes ever.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Let me see. Since we're cutting, I'll find it.
Take your time, girl.
Okay, so this is the best quote. And I think this is how I learned to get over mom guilt. And we can talk about mom guilt because
let's do.
Let's do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
let's hear the quote first, and then we can talk about mom guilt.
Well, okay. To preface this, I feel like as an entrepreneur in Utah, as a female, I feel like in the beginning I kind of had to like come out as an entrepreneur, right?
Okay.
When you're a mom, and especially when you have a very traditional family on both sides. Neither my mother nor my mother-in-law ever had a career. And I almost felt so much shame and guilt from even like leaving my kids a ton to start this business. And it just creates there's this huge concept of mom guilt. But I talked to this woman, and I think she was from Africa. And this is a few years back. And I was trying to explain the concept of mom guilt to her. And she looked at me and she was just like, I have no understanding of this. I can't make sense of this. Because in my country, as a female, if you have a job and you can make money to help provide the life that you want for your children, that is such a blessing. And it just completely shifted the way I think. Because it truly is. I mean, it's such a privilege to have a doctorate degree, to be able to be educated on helping others, and it just completely changed the way of thinking. So with that, I've never once had a feeling of mom guilt since. It's more about just like prioritizing and kind of time blocking for certain things to have enough time with my kids. But I love this quote because it says, forget work-life balance. So forget it.
Forget it.
You're never going to get balance. Like,
no.
Balance is not a thing. So forget work-life balance. Do the thing that you want and create systems to support that. Perfectly imbalanced in the direction you want to go is perfectly acceptable. And I love that.
I agree.
That's amazing.
My dad actually helped me kick mom guilt.
How so?
Well, because I was telling him, like, I feel like I'm not spending enough time with my kids. Like, they're here, but I'm working from home. And he's like, he goes, my mom, your grandmother, would have no idea what you're talking about because she was a single mom. And he's like, it took all day just to do one load of laundry. And so if we were in the neighborhood, she felt good about herself. And so like stop thinking. I think there's like this misconception that one person is going to give us everything we need in a relationship. And it's just so untrue in marriage. It's untrue as a mom. Like it truly takes a village to raise your children. It takes a lot of relationships to create a whole human.
Yeah.
And you do your best and you just augment everything around you. We've had nannies forever. We've had house manager. My husband's a stay-at-home dad. He cooks. He does carpool. And I don't believe in mom guilt. I also don't believe in balance. In fact, on this podcast, I only ask men about how they balance home life and family, like work-life family.
That's fair.
Yes, because how many times have you been asked as a female entrepreneur? And it's like, I don't. And why do I have to?
Yeah, you don't.
Why is it a standard that we have to live by?
And I love that you brought up the relationship word, because motherhood's a relationship. Doing all those other tasks, laundry, cooking, cleaning, how does that make you a better mom?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. In fact, for me, it makes me a worse mom. Because I get home and I'm like, oh, you're kidding me? I have to like clean up. I have to do all this laundry when I want to just spend time with my kids.
I don't do homework or chores with my kids. I hire those two things out.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because I don't want to get, we all had that experience with our dad or our mom where we're trying to do math and it's like 3 a.m. We're all crying.
Yeah.
And
everyone's losing it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want that.
No.
I actually don't want that. I feel like we don't have to have that be part of our relationship. No. And same thing with chores. Like pick up your books and pick up your backpack and like the daily after school chores. I don't do those either.
That's smart. My babies are little, so I need to take that advice.
It's changed our relationship. Yeah. I just totally 100% am so obsessed with my kids, and I think not doing chores and not doing homework is really helpful.
That's amazing. I think as long as when I get home they run towards me, they want to see me, and you have that amazing relationship with your kids, all the other stuff, if you can let it go and have the opportunity and have the means to let someone else help you with that, I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. But when I was first starting, I would trade neighborhood girls and I would watch their kids and they would watch my kids and
create your posse.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love
okay.
that.
So then what is some advice you would give young Shelby? Oh my gosh. Like Shelby just starting out.
Oh my gosh. So Shelby just starting out. I think that in the beginning, when things go wrong, it feels like a mountain, right? And I think that as you learn and grow and go up and over that mountain, you learn over time that things are just hills. And it will go up and it will go down. And this is something that I learned from Shay McGee. She's amazing.
She's incredible.
And it's true. I mean, I think that there's always going to be hard things, right? And I love the quote that says, I don't lose. I either win or I learn. And it's so true. I think it's just always about learning and just shifting, pivoting, and knowing that it's not the end of the world. My team's been through a lot of changes the last 6 to 12 months. And I read a book called Necessary Endings. So good for business owners. If you're firing and like shifting your team. People are leaving. Yeah. Just any type of ending in your life. And how it's important, how pruning is so important. Pruning that rose bush. And I love the analogy. It's about a rose bush with these perfectly bloomed roses. Like picture this amazing, perfectly blooming rose bush. But then you also have these tiny little buds, right? And they're having to like dodge and go up and down and around these perfectly grown flowers, roses, to be able to bloom. And sometimes you got to just cut off those perfectly blooming roses so those 3 little buds that are fighting can just shoot straight out and thrive and grow. And you don't see that when you're in that like dodging zone. But the second you cut that flower and you see those little tiny buds grow into these amazing, beautiful roses, it's like, wow, that was actually an amazing opportunity for my company. Yeah. That was a really hard thing, but it's been so good for us.
Also, not looking at it as failure. if like someone needs to move on.
Yes.
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 Or you need someone to move on.
Yes.
Vice versa.
Yep, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
I think we've had people come in and out of the company, and there's been tough transitions, but there's been amazing smooth ones. And it's like, hey, if we're not helping you get to where you want to go, like I will help you find a job somewhere else. Let me support you in every other aspect of life. I would love to help get you where you want to go, but within RUMA, it's just not happening, you know, and that's okay.
Right. Love it. Okay. What legacy are you trying to build?
Ooh. I think creating a legacy of remembering that we have the immense power to benefit the lives of others in an extraordinary way, utilizing our God-given talents, but also our skills that we've worked really freaking hard to develop. And you can use all those things to create this amazing life and culture around you and memories for your family, and that it's okay to have these crazy aspirations and you can get there. That's the type of legacy that I want to leave for my kids, just for humans in general. You know, I think just knowing that we are all here to help each other. And if you can utilize the things that you're good at to improve the lives of others and to create the life you want, I think that's amazing.
Oh, I love that. Okay. I'm going to ask a couple quick questions.
Okay. Let's go.
What's your favorite procedure to do right now?
Oh, my favorite procedure right now is full facial balancing. That's such a cop out, but it's true because I think you can't just do one thing.
Is that what you did on me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just do like the lips.
Yeah.
Because over time, you lose bone in your mandible. Your chin will narrow and set back. And if you have a small chin, your lips pout out, you're going to look so thrown off and disproportionate. So it's all about balancing. But if you're aging here, also you have to frame around the mouth, which really affects the orbital area. You want to refresh the under eyes, help with a little temple volume loss, a little Botox. Like full face is powerful. And that's where you capture clients and they never leave you.
Yeah, you got me, girl.
Yeah, I got you.
What is one thing, at home thing, that you wish all your clients did?
Oh, at home?
Yeah, that would like help those. You know what I mean? Like something they did so that when they came, they were like ready. Or would like help.
Like focusing on skin health is so important because I think we have patients that come in and they spend thousands, literally thousands and thousands of dollars on injectables for me to build this beautiful, amazing cake, right? Mm-hmm. But if the frosting on top looks like crap, like what's the point?
So you love when I come in.
What are we doing? So I love when you come in because you take care of your face, your skin, you do all the things. So making sure you're using the right products to balance your pH and your oil production in your skin, getting on a retinoic acid so you get that cell turnover. It's really important. We get a new skin cell every 30 days. Babies get one every 7. So making sure you get those new skin cells. So really working on your skin health because I can't go home with you. That's expensive.
Using your sunscreen.
So if you don't know what to do, because I feel like skin is so overwhelming. RUMA, we do virtual skin health consultations, or you can come in, you sit down with a medical esthetician, and they create a whole plan for you for skin health. So products and then treatments you can be doing throughout the year to help complement your injectable treatments.
Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl, 100%.
Really?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Until I got my medical marijuana card, I was up till like 2 a.m. every day. Is that bad?
No, it's fine.
Well, disclosure, you guys, I cannot turn my brain off. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably have this problem, anxiety. And I just have this like, I lay down and my brain's like, oh, hello. So it just never turns off.
Like now you have time for me. Let's go.
Yes. Now like you're not seeing patients all day. You're not talking about their lives and their drama. Like it's like, okay, now I'm working. The problem is I'm working in the business and on the business. So I'm in the business all day seeing patients. And then at home, it's just kind of like, okay, how can we innovate and change and grow? And I don't know. I just, my goal is to build them up so much to where it's just like an easy transition, you know, but yeah the goal, I think the amount of growth that we've had is incredible and amazing, but I think it could be 3 times faster if I wasn't working within the business, if I was more outside of the business.
Okay. Last question. Who are you looking up to these days?
Oh, I look up to a lot of female entrepreneurs in Utah. You're one of them.
We have so many good ones.
We have so many good ones. And I think the network we have is amazing. I've learned a lot from Shay. I've learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot from Haley, one of my best friends who owns ProLash. I think we all have to stick together because culturally, as a female entrepreneur, it's hard in Utah.
I think it's hard everywhere.
We're against a lot of odds, though, especially in Utah. But there's so many amazing women here. So I think like Mackenzie Bauer with Threads, I think it's important to really find a network and learn from each other. I'm part of a couple mastermind groups for top aesthetic owners throughout the country. That's been amazing. I look up to a lot of those people that have kind of walked my same walk, but a few years ahead of me. I love learning from them, and I think we have a lot to learn from each other. And I think that's why I'm really open about my mistakes and things that I could have been better at, because it's just only gonna help other people grow too. So I there's not like one specific person. I think I really try to network and have a lot of people that I can learn from and kind of rub elbows with.
I love it. Yeah. Shelby, thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
you're the best.
You're the best.
I love you.
This is so fun. I'm so proud of you for doing this and having phenomenal people on your podcast. So
thank you.
Thanks for having me.